All right, hey guys, Ham Solo here, Kilo Zero Foxtrot Yankee Romeo. I am back in Colorado, and I've now got some of the things that I needed in order to do a follow-up of the TidRadio version 2 H8 handheld, or HT. I have the TidRadio here. Got the regular USB-C charged battery for the version 2. I have the stock antenna. I've also brought along the extended antenna that they gave me. I have the second battery here as well, so we'll be able to test both batteries, right? I picked up a laser thermometer, which we'll talk about. I also have a human thermometer, right? And then I have a thermal imaging camera. So again, most of these things you're getting from regular store, regular person thermometer, laser thermometer. This was, I think, Harbor Freight, maybe 20 bucks-ish. Thermal imaging camera is going to be a little bit harder for you. These things usually run about 25 grand. And so I wouldn't recommend going out and trying to pop and get one of these. But the idea is we're going to key up on the radio. We're going to try to check the plus dot where I've been feeling all the RF burn come out, and see if we see anything on any of these thermometers. Hopefully it doesn't rain us out. I can see it building both behind me and in front of me, so we'll see if we can get this done fairly quickly. On a VHF channel. It's one of the ones, I think, from Austin. It doesn't really matter. I know that when I key up and then touch that plus dot, it doesn't take very long for me to feel the voltage come through. And so I've already felt it's been like maybe 8 seconds. And so let's start out first with regular thermometer. Now this one has a metal tip. And so it's going to show me temperature, and it's got the little metal tip, and I'm going to touch that on the plus dot while I'm transmitting. So right now it seems like it's gone back to normal temperature. I'm going to put it on that dot right now, see if I get a reading, and I do not. So it's saying low. Let me transmit. Ow. Okay, so while transmitting, I'm seeing 91 degrees. And so it went from low, where it didn't have anything, to 91 degrees. So not really seeing anything significant when I key up with the thermometer on there. Now I am feeling it on my finger, and it's quite annoying, but I'm not seeing it on this. And so maybe it's just not completing the circuit like it is with my body. So we can try it again using the laser thermometer. So I have the laser thermometer here. I'm going to key up, pointing the laser thermometer. And while keyed up, I see 71.2 degrees. That's all it's getting. Now, the thing I wanted to talk about with that, I had a lot of people who called in or emailed in and said, oh, why aren't you using a laser thermometer? And I tried to explain that a laser thermometer or laser light, just like with infrared light, is not very good for metal. What happens is the metal can absorb the light. It's not emissive, which means absorbance. And so you don't get a really accurate reading when you use laser light or infrared on metal surfaces. And so that's not really a way that you would detect heat using that on something metal, like a metal garage door or metal disc on the back of the battery. That's something we found over many years of being on the fire service and on the hazmat teams, that when you shine laser light or infrared on metal surfaces, normally you're going to get reflection, and you'll see yourself in the image, like reflected back, like when you're shooting a garage door or something like that. And so it's not a good way to judge temperature. So I've got the laser thermometer. I'm pointing it just at the dirt. I'm getting 91 degrees off of the dirt. I'm getting 138 degrees off the surface of this black table. So I got a black vinyl table in front of me. I'm getting 131 degrees on that. I'm getting 94-ish degrees off of the dirt. On the radio right now with the laser dot on the plus little metal diode, I'm getting 91 degrees. And if I key up, it's 77 degrees. So again, there was almost more temperature before I even keyed up. Yeah, so it's 91 degrees before I key up. When I key up and put the laser thermometer on it, it shows only 77 degrees. So laser thermometer did not work accurately at all. All right, I have the thermal imaging camera on. It's very hard to see this in the daylight. And so, got the radio on here. So I'm not even sure if I'm recording video, so I'm going to turn the radio around and I'm going to key the transmit and look at the back buttons on the radio. Let me go in the garage and see if I can see it better in the... All right, here I am in the shade of the garage. I'm keying up on the radio, looking at the back battery buttons. You're supposed to be about 3 feet away. It's kind of hard to get 3 feet away and still look and see everything. Not really a significant amount of heat. I'm getting more off of my thumb there. If you just saw 98 degrees, where the back batteries look like maybe 96 and the trash can lid 72. And so it's not really able to pick up that well, regardless if I'm keyed up correctly on it or not. And so I don't think that's a viable way to view it, trying to do it on the metal. All right, so seems like that was kind of like a pointless testing procedure. Again, light machines like a laser thermometer and infrared camera are not going to show very good heat exchange on a metal surface, and so was not able to record any true temperature difference between when I had the unit on and transmitting and when I did not. And so the temperature on the little disc on the back was in the neighborhood of about, 80-ish degrees. And turning the radio on, let's say I have 88.5 degrees, the last one I just took. And so if I'm looking at the disc right at 90, 88 degrees, and I key up and transmit, now it's showing hotter now, it's showing 98 degrees. But I also think this thing is accepting some electrical interference, because when I first key up, it says 390 degrees. So I'm sure that it's transmitting is messing it up. So let's see if I can get it to look at it again. All right, 90. Yeah, it's getting electrical interference actually from the radio, because now it's going into the negatives, and so the radio is actually messing up the meter. Yeah. Uh, um, Actually, it just overloaded the camera at 700, or the thermometer at 770 degrees, and that was keying up, pointing it at the dirt, and I keyed up the radio. So that isn't working in the first place. What I did notice on the regular thermometer, however, is this thing was not reading anything off of the dot when I would touch it. And so, touching that dot and then transmitting wasn't making any difference on regular thermometer. And we saw what happened with the thermal imaging camera. It just was not getting any signal at all. It was basically the same temperature as my finger was touching the dot. And so these methods weren't the way to go in order to check for that electrical current that's I can feel flowing into my finger. And so I don't have anything else to really test the radio with. I don't have an oscilloscope or anything like that. And so I can't actually check for voltages, I guess. And so the only thing I'd probably be able to do would be just to send this back and see if they can send me another one if it does the same thing. And so that's without even changing the battery out. I mean, I'm feeling it on that battery as well as putting the second battery in there. I don't think that's going to make any difference on the transmit.
Welcome.
Now I started to get the burn as soon as I turned it on and transmitted. And so again, normal temperature on it, 90-ish degrees. Yeah, when I keyed up, it went to 844 degrees. So that's not I can't use this around the radio anyway because it's just not reading correctly. It did initially, and now it's just getting interference. And so that's about it for the testing on the video. What I'll do is I'll call one person, see if he's got an oscilloscope handy, and if not, then I'll go ahead and mail this back to TidRadio and write them a letter and see what they think. All right, so I just talked to Ray that I had done the interview with at the Deep Space Exploration Society, and he is a radio technician, electrical engineer, actually, to be probably correct about it. And he is going to take it to his shop, and he is going to use a spectrum analyzer and try to determine if that's RF that's coming out of those terminals. And so more to follow. I won't close the video out just yet to get some information back from Ray on what he found, and I'll try to see if I can get him to record it. And so stay tuned. I am back, and I got my radio returned from Ray, AA0L, and he was checking it with his service monitors, and so he came up with a couple conclusions. Now, Ray has been a ham for decades. He is the site manager for the Plissner Radio Telescope and does some of the radio astronomy. He also is his regular job as the senior engineer for like 6 AM FM radio stations here in Colorado Springs. And so he's got a lot of knowledge and a ton of testing equipment. And so he put it on a service monitor, he put it on oscilloscopes, and made up a simple RF probe. And he was not able to find any RF coming off of this back portion here with the dots. And so he thinks that this is just a thermal problem. We tried to look at that earlier. I showed you a couple of tests. I'm going to run those tests again and try to swap out some things and see if that makes any difference. So let's get going with that. I just put on the regular antenna, got the battery on, was transmitting on a simplex channel 146550. I went down to 520 and didn't hear any of that weird oscillating noise that y'all are getting in some of your comments or some of the other video people. And so on 520, keying up. There's no oscillation. This is on high power. And so I'm going to get off. We're doing a 14ers event in Colorado with summits on the air. And so I'm going to get off of that frequency. And I'm on 146.550. It is on high power, 10 watts. And I am going to key up K0 FYR testing. And so I've got it keyed up on that frequency. It's showing 10 watts. I'm holding that dot, and it's super hot already. And so let me first test that. If it's thermal, I'm going to try the laser thermometer again. Now remember that lasers and infrared, right, they are light, and usually on metal surfaces which aren't emissive or they don't absorb light, it doesn't work very well. So I'm going to key up. I'm going to laser thermometer that dot. And it says 400 degrees. But again, I think this gets interference with the transmission. Got 122 degrees. So 122 degrees off of that dot. Again, I don't like these. I stopped it at 116, but I don't like these too much because on metal surfaces this isn't really appropriate. Let me try the same thing with the thermal imaging camera. Normally with the thermal imaging camera, again, we use these in fires. It's infrared, and so you're not able to see the smoke and everything. You know, the whole purpose of thermal imaging cameras is to see, you know, beneath the smoke when we're in fires. And so normally you have to be upwards of 3 feet away, because too close to the imager and it can't focus on whatever it's supposed to be looking at. And so try to focus it a little better, see if I can see the back of the radio. I can. Now again, those dots are metal, and so it may not be very accurate. Got my hand on it now. This is my hand. All right, sorry about that. I set the camera up to do picture-in-picture, and I've got my hand right here. It's in the screenshot, and so let me start to record. All right, so it's recording. There's my hand in the shot. I am going to key up the radio. And right now in infrared, I see 71, 72 degrees. I'm looking at all 4 of those dots. And so again, it's just one of those factors with infrared and laser light. It's not very accurate. So that's almost 45 seconds of transmitting, and it's still only showing 70 degrees. And so that's going to be, you know, a problem again with the infrared light source and or the laser thermometer. Again, when I key up, if I turn this on, yeah, as soon as I keyed up, it said 877 degrees. I wasn't even pointing at it, and so the radio frequency disturbs the laser thermometer. I'm going to put tape over it and see if I can feel the heat or whatever this problem is through the tape. And if that's the case, then it for sure is a thermal issue and not RF like I thought it was. And like I said, Ray tested it, and he couldn't get any excess RF signal coming out of any of those prongs, no matter how many times he tried it. And he did feel it with his finger on the battery button. And so I've shown that the light machines, whether it's laser light, which is near infrared, or regular infrared, is not able to see it. This thermometer with the little metal end probe or the plastic cover on it is not seeing it. That's a whole different issue on that one. I went to the store to try to get a regular thermometer, and they just don't sell the mercury ones anymore. I guess I'm that out of date to modern thermometers are all these electrical ones. And so let me get the piece of duct tape on here and see if I can get any of that heat transfer through that, and then we'll know whether it's thermal or not. All right, I've got a piece of black duct tape that's over the 4 prongs. I can feel the plus one here, and I'll try to transmit. Again, this is high power, 10 watts with a piece of duct tape on it, and I'm trying to see if I can feel the heat. All right, sorry about that cut. I had to answer a phone call in the middle of me taping this. And so I've got the thing keyed up. I've got the tape over it with my finger on the button. And I think I'm feeling a little bit of warmth. It's not very much compared to what it is when you're doing just your bare finger. Okay, I can feel it through the tape. And so I can feel it through the tape right now. It's not very intense because I got tape on it, but I do feel it through the tape. All right, so I'm thinking that's probably now going to be thermal, like Ray is saying. So one other test I want to try, and then I'll put this whole thing to bed and then see what TidRadio wants to do or feels about it, is I'm going to take off that antenna. Some people have mentioned in the videos they've used different antennas and then it doesn't do that. And whether it's signal stick or some other version, I am going to put a 60-watt dummy load on it, and this should, in theory, represent a perfect antenna. And so with one of these, you would have great SWR, and because it's a dummy load, it's not a true transmitter. And so I am going to put this on here. And so I have the 60-watt dummy load. I have an adapter to SMA female, and the radio is SMA male. And so I'm going to attach that with that whole contraption attached. So the 60-watt dummy load going to the radio, and apparently I turned it off.
Welcome.
Still on the simplex channel 146.550. And if I transmit into that dummy load, I should, if it is thermal, I should still be able to probably feel the heat. If the problem is that they've accidentally shorted to the battery. And so best way I can do it is just, I've got it sitting here. I want to kind of put the dummy load down, hold the radio up, put my finger on that plus sign, and then key the transmit all while you're watching, which isn't the easiest to do. So I'm transmitting now. This is 10 watts. And I've actually kind of noticed that if I hold it horizontal, I don't always feel it. And so I'm trying to hold it vertical. Okay. Dummy load radio. You can see the thermal imaging camera here. And so I've got the thing set up, dummy load there. I'm transmitting at 10 watts. All right, I think I just talked a bunch with the camera off. So after trying the test with the dummy load, what I noticed is that the body of the radio starts to get warm instead of the actual dots. And so the temperature of the body of the radio got warmer with the dummy load. And then when I remove that dummy load and put on the stock antenna again, that heat transfer goes back, what I've noticed, to the battery dots. So with the dummy load on, couldn't feel anything. with the stock antenna on, yeah, ow, yeah, it's super hot. And I also noticed that sometimes the orientation matters. So when I do it vertical, I'm not feeling it, and then when I turn it horizontal, ooh, it starts to get real hot. Even the bottom here, the plastic is starting to get warm. And so I'm not sure what orientation would have to do with the way that it's dissipating heat. That's why I thought it was just RF, But like I said, Ray tested it with all of his service meter stuff and didn't see any significant RF coming off of any parts of the body or the battery dots of the radio. And when I put the dummy load back on, like I'm doing, and then whether I'm horizontal or vertical, it doesn't seem to make any difference. I don't really feel that battery dot getting hot like I do with the stock antenna, but the body of the radio warms up a little bit. So I'm going to say, like what Ray's conclusion was, it's got to be thermal. Because he tested with all the appropriate testing instruments. The issue is that I don't really have a good way to see that thermal character on the things that I have, and these are things that we use commonly in order to see temperature. But again, on metal, it doesn't work right, and so I think that's probably going to be the end of whatever I've been trying to do with this TID radio. Obviously, it's got some kind of issues and problems. I know that several of the other YouTubers have done reviews on it, including Smoking Ape, who did a great job on his reviews of the spurious emissions and so forth. I seem to be having more issues and problems with the temperature on these, and so we're going to just chalk it up to being some kind of battery issue. I don't get the oscillating whine that some of y'all are getting, and so just thinking that the battery case or something with that new battery that they did with the USB-C charger, even though a great feature, is doing something to transmit heat out whenever you're on the stock antenna or the other antenna that they sent with the radio. Not so much with a dummy load, but whenever you are transmitting on the antennas that they sent with the radio. And so I'm going to leave it there. I'll contact TID Radio. I'll send the radio back to them, see if they want to either send me another one or just take this one and see if they can break it down and find anything. But that's all I have for now. It's got some kind of issue, and I just can't lock it down with all the testing that we did. And again, I used all kinds of different monitors and people in order to look at it, and just not able to find anything that would be, a for sure, here's the issue, fix the issue. So, like I've told them before, it's that plus sign dot gets super hot, when you're transmitting using a standard antenna that came with the radio and the other longer 15-inch TID Radio 771. And so, like I said, I'll give them this model or this actual radio back and see if they can see it. And sometimes the orientation was horizontal, sometimes it was vertical, but it would still happen whenever I would be touching that dot. So, sorry about that, guys. Don't know what to say. I just say be careful, when you're transmitting, because it just feels like it bites you, after a while, and I know it wasn't very comfortable. So until next time, this is Ham Solo, K0FYR 73.